Hey, everybody. We're back in the studio today with my buddy and my partner, Eric Howerton.
What's up, Mark? Nice shades, bro.
Hey, thanks, man. I kind of felt like Stevie Wonder this morning.
Yeah?
Now, I'm having a lot of eye problems, truthfully.
Yeah.
And I had the eye operation that us old folks get. The cataract.
The cataract eyes?
Yeah. So anyway, instead of, and then they put these lenses in. So my eyes, I did have 20/20 and 20/15 vision.
Yeah.
A couple of weeks after it was done, but now it's deteriorating.
That's great.
So yeah, it's wonderful.
Is it cool getting old, Mark? Older?
Some ways it's great.
Like what? Like how about from a business perspective? Just curious.
You're more relaxed. You're less likely to blow your top. You're less likely to cause problems.
I remember when I was like 33 and I was eating, I'll never forget, I was eating dinner with you and Ed Friedrichs.
Yeah.
When I just started with you. Yeah. And you and Ed are like, spending some time with me because I was, came in a pretty good leadership position, was white with your company.
Yeah.
And I remember both of y'all sitting there saying, at your age, really exciting time and opportunity for you. But he's like, but the good thing about our age is that you really don't take this shit as seriously as what you do when you're 33.
It's so true.
It actually helped me out, though, because I was like, why do I take it so seriously?
Yeah.
I mean, is it really that serious?
It's seriously, you know what, though? I think I was talking with my wife about this very topic last night.
Mm-hmm.
And the truth of it is that some of the qualities that made you successful younger, that you had when you were younger, eventually they can backfire on you.
When you're older?
And then you change. Yeah.
Like what? What's a good example?
Well, I mean, like just getting really worked up and being super, super intense.
Yeah.
That can produce certain benefits for you.
When you're younger.
Yeah.
I would think that something like that is just the tenacity.
Yeah.
Because the reality is, and I'll tell this to younger folks, like it took me a solid decade from 25 to 35 to even be taken seriously in discussing business with people. Like I was just young.
Yeah. You got to grow the beard out.
Yeah. You got to,
and look a little bit older.
Look like you know what you're talking
about. Buy the 4-door car instead of the whatever you were driving.
Yeah. But I mean, but I had tenacity. Like I just, I was just like powered through it and just kept at it. But I don't think it was that tenacity that really got me deals. What it was just being tenacious helped me learn a lot faster and go through a lot more experiences to where when I was 35, I actually had maybe 2x the experiences of somebody else that was just chilling, bro.
That was my old boss.
Saying, man?
He would say, like, if you just work 80 hours a week, you're already get twice as much experience. But then he also liked to talk about people that would say they had 20 years experience. He goes, no, they have 1 year experience 20 times over.
Yeah,
based on the way they did things.
That's so good. That's so true. I mean, for whatever reason, this culture, we got this
taken on a lot.
This idea that I saw something on LinkedIn the other day, and I know this isn't your LinkedIn Hall of Shame, but I did see some post that was like how to retire with $1 million and never work another day for the rest of your life.
You won't be living very good, is all I know.
Well, there's not only that, but it's also who the hell wants to retire when you're 30?
Gosh, you got so much to do.
There is so much to be done.
I don't understand it.
And like, man, I mean,
it's inconceivable.
The only thing I've seen that happens, in my experience of seeing people that retire, it's downfall.
It's so true.
They just start. You lose your what purpose do you have from there?
I get it.
I mean, I get spending time with your family. Like I get that, but I don't know of anybody that's genuinely really successful that's truly just retired. And for some reason in the workforce, there's this idea that to retire early is a goal, and it really shouldn't be.
No, I agree.
It really shouldn't be.
Being active and doing things is where it's at. Being creative, helping people.
Being a contributor, a comrade.
Right. Hey, there's one thing, though, before we go any farther.
What's that?
Comrade Eric. That could be misconstrued. We did not open up the show as we always do.
That this is another episode of
Big Talk About Small business. All right.
Now we're in the freaking game, bro.
Now we can start.
Let's start.
Okay, we're ready to go.
So I have a mini history lesson.
Okay, what's that?
I told you before I wasn't really prepared for this, but I actually thought of something.
Okay, what's that?
My favorite quote of any entrepreneur of all time. John D. Rockefeller.
Okay.
Like, who's got a bad stigma for being a monopolist and, but I mean, his fault that he was just incredibly ingenious and tenacious and did what he did. But I mean, thankfully he did, because America wouldn't be what it is without him. But he said, he had a quote that's like, he goes, I would go to bed worried to death and losing sleep about the amount of money that I owe to people. Mm-hmm. But then I'd wake up looking to borrow more. I think that's like the epitome. That is exactly what an entrepreneur is.
That's the spirit. It's so true, isn't it?
The spirit. Because, man, look, dude, I mean, like, I've been wanting to do this presentation. I've been working on it, and I need to get it completed. But my title is, it's about 4 a.m. is the title of my presentation.
Yep.
Because it's at 4 a.m. when you wake up in the middle of the sleep, and then your brain is just freaking just jammed with all these things that you're trying to figure out, and then all the problems and barriers you have against you. And then, I usually get up and walk around, get a drink of water, try to chill out and act like that I can process it. But most of the times I end up just staying awake and saying, okay, get up and get at it and start fixing this stuff. But then, but it is about that 4 a.m. time period, like, of when that is when you know if you're an entrepreneur or not. Like, if you can get through that, because a lot of people,
you don't let that crush you and paralyze you.
Yeah, like, it's just becomes part of your reality. And I know you've experienced that a million times, right?
No question. I mean, I just, like, this week, yesterday, I made the decision that I would personally guarantee some debt for a company that I'm part of, which a lot of people wouldn't do, because you look at it and go, wow, they're not making any money. And,
yeah.
Why, it's so risky to do that. But no, I'm going to do it because I believe we have all the attributes we need to be successful. Got a good team. We got the passion.
Yeah.
We got the know-how, and we have the resources to pull it off.
Yep.
Okay. So I don't care the rest of the market's declining, which it is in this particular industry, or any of that. That means nothing to me.
It really doesn't.
I don't even give it any thought at all.
And it's funny because, like, in I guess you would say the corporate setting, there's all this analysis and all this thing that you got to do. But honestly, I would say 99% of my decisions, I don't like talking to anybody about, because I'm going to get all this debate in discussion when I know deep inside that this is the right damn thing I need to do.
Right.
And it's exciting to me. And the things, all the soft things that you can't do an analysis on, like, does your gut tell you that the market is going to continue to grow, and so therefore you have a greater opportunity?
Yeah, the wind's at your back there.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
And then you can kind of see down the road, and I'm already, like, predefining, like, 6, 9, 12 months out, like, on how the market's shifting. I don't watch a lot of industry news, but I watch enough I just watch the highlights, right? I'm like, oh, well, that's going to impact this. And with the AI, like AI, it's like, okay, well, how do you leverage that? How, in my experience, like, when e-commerce came up, how did that really impact the workforce? And then who was behind and who didn't jump on the train fast enough? And so there's my opportunity right there for at least 24 months.
No kidding.
I mean, like, if I embrace AI right now and I get my team to, we're already ahead.
Yeah.
I mean, so it's just that the ability to do it. But I think that quote encapsulates that perspective, right? A lot of people, will allow that negativity to kind of just demoralize them out of a situation. But if you refresh out, you come back and you're still excited about something, that's when you know you're probably an entrepreneur.
Yeah. Yeah. The risk, there's a lot of risk and everything. Everybody talks about that. But I think most entrepreneurs, they really don't feel like they're doing anything that risky.
Yeah.
They have a lot of confidence in their abilities to do what they need to do to make it work out.
Yeah, because you can maneuver.
Yeah.
Just maneuver.
Pivot.
Pivot.
And pivot.
Adapt.
But no, you do have to adapt. You do have to keep yourself informed of what's going on out there in the world that could affect you.
Yeah. And it's
not that hard.
And you can't be really political or bureaucratic when you need to make a change. Like it's just like you come in, you say the change, there's going to be people that ruffle feathers because those are people that don't want things to change. But you can't accommodate that. You can't satisfy everybody's fear of change to make a company move forward. You have to be the person that walks in the room and says, this is the way it's going. And, and if you've got a problem with it, you might want to start looking for another place to work is basically my statement. And my team knows that, right? Like I'm intolerant to and I admit, I'm like, hey, I'm crazy. I come up with new ideas and I'll change the decision in a flash, but I'm not going to change.
Yeah.
It's just not going to happen because I can't. If I change, I'm dying.
Not everybody can work for people like you and me.
No. And they should.
It's too uncertain for them. They feel.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, maybe if we're pretty good pilots of all the hazards that lie ahead, maybe they should rethink their position. Right?
I would hope so, but I don't know that that's ever going to be. I think that's my dream, right? It's like, people are going to believe that I might know what I'm doing, but I don't think that they do,
You just have to keep proving it over and over again.
That's it, man. Clean slate.
It's a big part of business is proving people wrong, man. Just show the doubters how wrong they were. All right. You heard it last week with Tom Gordon.
Yeah.
Talking about those banks.
That's it.
That he talked to early on in their evolution.
I'll tell you what an experience of mine has been lately on that topic is that, the team may not really believe, but I can tell you who does believe and that really matters to believe.
Yeah.
Are the clientele.
Yes.
I've had clientele engaging with me because they know that I'm a person that will, if I say I'm going to do it, I'm going to go for it. And I'm going to be accommodating and I'm going to listen to what you need.
Right.
And I'm going to create something off of it.
Yeah.
And let's take a risk. Let's go. Let's go, buddy.
Yeah. I do think a lot of people that have businesses do get too isolated from their clients and customers.
Death sentence.
It's absolutely, that's why you've got to stay in the trenches to a certain extent, doing the work of the business.
I agree.
Not getting out of all the work and being a full-time executive. Okay, which I never liked that title.
No.
Because to me, that implies isolation.
Yeah.
From both your people and your customers.
Yep.
And you've got to be out there talking with them because they're going to guide you. If you do listen and do try to meet their demands, you're going to be successful.
That's your market research. Don't make it bigger than that. You don't have to go buy a subscription at Ibis World and freaking, Nielsen to understand how to start a business. Like, what is the market needing?
Exactly. You got to fill a want or a need.
That's it, man.
They don't always need it. It's like my wife says, she'll be like, here, eat the rest of my dessert. It's like, I don't need that. I didn't know you don't need it, but do you want it?
Hell yeah, baby. Feeding up, selling off folks' desires,
Yeah.
Yeah, man.
That's a big part. It's a fundamental part of business. The business will not exist unless it fills a want or a need.
That's it, man.
That's all, and marketing, that's what it's based on.
Yeah.
So, hey,
talking about fuel and growth today, right?
We're talking about fuel and growth. Yeah, we are. But before we get into that, we're supposed to pull something out of the hat.
Oh,
remember the topic out of there? Why don't you pull the topic today, buddy?
Is that okay?
Yes, of course it is.
Is that because you can't really read it or what?
No, actually, these glasses I have on are bifocals.
Oh, nice.
So I can. Oh. That's so I can text and drive at the same time. In my convertible.
That's right.
No, I never would do that.
No, of course not.
I do not recommend
No, would not.
Only at stoplights.
All right. What's in the swag hat today is the term too much strategy.
Ah. What do you think about that? What does that say to you?
I say that if you spend too much of, really what that comes down to is too much time wasted. Mm-hmm. Or I wouldn't say it's wasted because I feel like that you could, honestly, I could see the value if all I did every day full time is writing out strategy. It'd be pretty nice.
Yeah.
But the reality to it is that nobody can afford that person that's just riding out strategy. And plus, it's like a never-ending job. Like the second that you put something down on paper, especially in today's time, the strategy is going to be busted a little bit in some nook and cranny. So, but I think that if a entrepreneur bites into, like, you've got to have a strategic plan, you got to work on that and all this, then it kind of goes in that whole pitch deck, raising capital. I mean, like, what are you writing all this strategy out for?
Right.
Other than trying to borrow money or get capitalization. Banks don't really need all that. Go ahead.
No, go on.
Well, I was just going to say, like, if you got friends and family funding, they're not going to need all this strategy.
Right.
And so, like, in the very beginning, you really don't need that much strategy. Like, the better thing would be is to go freaking sell some shit.
You need some action.
Yeah, action. Sell a deal.
It's about action.
Like, my strategy has always been, did somebody buy?
Exactly.
That's my strategy.
And once they do, who else is like them?
Exactly. And then I sell it the second time. Right. And then I'm going to come to Mark and say, hey, dude, check it out. I got this company called Podcast Videos that I just started up. And I've got 3 people in here recording. I think it's got a real good thing. I'm going to keep diving into it.
Exactly. No, I get that. I totally. I was going to say that the only thing I would maybe disagree with you a little bit on is
you can't do that.
That
to me.
I don't see the business plan's purpose to just raise money.
I agree.
I do think a lot of people do think that. But, I mean, if you had a good business plan and a good strategy, it really should be used to guide your people.
Sure.
You know, I mean, I'm sure you wouldn't disagree with that. But no, to me, I think you were kind of getting there on what you were saying, like go sell something that somebody wants. My interpretation of that statement there is take some freaking action. If all you do is plan,
nothing gets done.
Nothing gets done. I mean, taking action and seeing what happens, to me, is the best way to plan.
Absolutely. Right? Yeah, because your plan, a good plan is actually
based on
the reaction of what's happened.
Right.
And you can't build a full out strategy, with just your expectation or your ideas. But your strategy is built over time. Like, my strategy for this company is going to look a lot different in 2 years or a year or even 6 months based upon what all the complaints and the problems that my clients have faced with working with our company.
Right, exactly. And if you didn't think that way, you'd go out of business. Yeah, you would not evolve.
No, exactly right.
Yeah, you've got to, there's no question. I mean, doing and getting the feedback and implementing and doing again, that's the best way to develop your strategy.
A lot of folks, I was talking to a guy a couple of weeks ago. He's like, man, I don't know if I should start my own business or if I should just go get a job.
I talk to these guys all the time. Why do we attract those people?
Because they, what I think that they're attracted because they think that we might know an answer for them, and we really don't.
No.
Because my answer is well, I mean, shit, if you think it's a good idea, go for it.
Right.
I mean, like go sell it and see. I mean, that's going to tell you immediately. And you can kind of tiptoe into a business.
But what if I do that and then I get a job offer? I want whatever.
Well, then make the decision then.
Yeah.
I mean,
what if?
What all these what ifs? Like, I don't know. I mean, what if I, make $100 million and I get slammed by a bus the very next day? I mean, like, what was the point of my life?
Could happen.
Right? That was what I was banking it on.
Right.
But yeah, I just think that too much strategy could put somebody, and I've seen it put people in analysis paralysis.
Yes.
And then they don't ever do. If you got something in your being that's telling you that this is a marketed idea, and you've got this energy that's developing out of just like, I can solve that and it needs to be solved. That is really the essence of you being an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
Like, there's something that's happening there. Now it's just, are you going to be the person that takes action? That's your second step of knowing if you're an entrepreneur.
Yep.
Like, you just say, screw it, I'm taking it. The wife's like, no, you can't. And then you're like, I got to, man. I mean, like, I've got to go for this, right? And so, you got to go through that kind of stuff. You're not going to do enough of a strategy to show to your wife or your spouse to get on board with what your vision is. Like, they're never going to do it and get in trouble.
Yeah,
that's my philosophy.
You've got to get out there and try it, and see what kind of reaction you get, and whether or not you can do it. Whether or not you can do it and actually make money on it, that's another thing. There may be a lot of things you can do, but there's just the economics don't work out.
I can't wait to watch this podcast and see the sunglasses, bro.
I never wore sunglasses before. It's one of the reasons I wore hats. Because I don't like seeing the world through a distorted lens. I know that sounds crazy.
No, that's beautiful though, man. Full color, baby.
Yeah, I just want to see what it actually is. I
love it.
And it was one reason why I got the cataracts done, though, because it's like looking at everything through a sepia filter.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Before cataract surgery?
Yeah.
Everything turns sepia on you.
Yeah, it's kind of yellowy and dingy. We were watching TV the other night in our room where we have the 85-inch TV hanging on the wall. And everybody says that's terrible for a marriage. You should not have your giant TVs in your bedroom. I'm like, that's the best place. What are you talking about? Plus, I mean, the truth is our room is so long that we have like a living area in one end of it. And that 85, you got to have that to be able to see what's going on. It's on like a pivot.
Yeah.
But anyway, I said to my wife, I'm like, because we had some AT&T fiber optic problems. Uh-huh. And we got this notice the other day, like your internet will be out for the next, 4 hours or whatever. It'll be restored at this time. And so I'm looking at the TV and I'm like, holy cow. The colors, the resolution's amazing. Do you think it's because of the upgrade in our internet that, AT&T is like finally giving us the 2.5 gigabytes or whatever the hell we're paying for, in this fiber optic cable? She goes, no, it's your eye operation.
Jackass.
I'm like, oh yeah, I forgot about that.
It's so beautiful.
It's like suddenly you start seeing all this stuff. But anyway, so yeah, forget the look away from that. Just pretend you're sitting there with Stevie Wonder or something.
I like it, man.
And maybe I'll break out in a song. Don't have a piano here, though, like Stevie. So let's get into our topic.
Fueling your growth.
Yeah.
For your business.
Yeah, what's going to do that? What are we supposed to talk about there?
Well, I mean, there's like understanding your customer base.
Okay.
What's
That's
that
critical.
customer journey?
What do you mean, customer journey? That sounds like a cliche.
Well, your journey, yeah, like what is the entrance? How do people become exposed to your company?
Okay, and then
and then how do they engage? And then how
Okay,
what's the sales process?
Yeah,
and then I think in that sales process, what's your quoting process? What's your closing process? What's your payment processes?
Okay, totally get that. That makes a lot of sense.
If you can, and then one of the biggest ones that I've been really kind of guilty in a way of not implementing soon enough was like, what's the handoff from sales to the customer team, the accounts team?
Okay.
Like that there's got to be an
if that's your business. I mean,
and a service.
We're talking a business to business service business.
Yeah, but even if you're selling a product, like how does it get to the warehouse to pack it up? But there's always this transition of when somebody buys to somebody executing their order.
True. Yes.
And if you like, that process is so easily not thought about and developed.
Man, that is so true.
But it will bottleneck everything you got. You'll have, and then if you sign somebody up and that handoff isn't fast, let's say that it takes a week for the execution team to start developing that out and start understanding what that original agreement was. By that week's time, the customer's already going like, what the hell's going on here?
Sure, they got all kinds of cognitive dissonance. Did I hire the right people?
Exactly.
Right?
Immediately.
I know, I'm with you.
And then you're always behind and you're playing catch up. And then, oh, by the way, you get a new order in. And then a new one. Like, that's happened to me. Like,
that is so true.
We talked about that in the construction industry.
Yes.
Like, the whole sales process is fantastic. But as soon as you sign something, crickets for 2 or 3 weeks, and you're like, dude, what the hell is going on here?
That's why I always recommend that everybody gets a weekly job status report.
Yeah.
And telling them what we did this week, what we're going to do next week, any other special issues or concerns that you need to be aware of.
That's great.
But yeah, so the customer journey, so you got to, we're talking about fueling growth. So you said you have to understand that. You got to map that out, right?
Yeah, you got
whether it's in your mind or it's written.
It's got to be, yeah. And then with technology, like, and all the softwares that we're using, like, where are those transitions happening? Do people clearly know that now this job is in order and I've got to do these things? And then I think that another thing is like, it's like, what's the results of it? What's the communication? What feedback are you getting from the customer during that process? Because, if you wait too long to get feedback from the customer, it's not repetitive in small chunks, they're not going to remember all the problems they had. They have this fatigue. They just have a feeling that they're not happy, that they can't articulate what it was.
They may not even remember how they first came in contact or learned about your business, which is critical to you to be able to market it.
Yeah,
right?
So you got to find that stuff out along the way. But all that to me is process. And if you can't develop a process of that, that's going to stunt your growth. And so to fuel your growth, if you're a master at those processes, then you can handle more customers or more clients with the same amount of resources, number one, which is going to help fuel your growth because your expenses don't follow exactly.
You're spreading your overhead out over a larger number of transactions.
Exactly.
Always a good strategy.
Exactly. And then hopefully you can get your jobs done faster. It's not like waiting tables. Yeah. It's about turning tables. It's about checking in. Like, a lot of servers might be good at taking your order and getting in the system fast, but they suck at pre-bussing and leaving your table dirty as hell. And then one of the biggest rules of serving tables is that you come by and get them checked out soon.
Yeah.
Because you can have the best experience in the world, but if your server's out there lollygag,
they can't find your server to get your bill.
So you can get the hell out of there.
I know. So they can do somebody else.
You got to close that whole loop.
Yeah.
I tell you, I was a waiter back. I think it's been so critical.
I know you were.
Dude, I loved waiting tables.
Was that the restaurant at the Holiday Inn? Or in
the Holiday Inn. I did the Mallard Club in the Holiday Inn. Then I did like Lazari Pizza Italian Oven in Jonesboro. And then I moved up here. I worked at Cool Water, the bar.
Oh, you worked at Cool Water?
I did, man. I was a bartender. I was a cocktail server. And then I was also worked at helped open the Olive Garden in Fayetteville as a server.
Yeah, I knew that.
Back in the day. But I loved serving tables because it was like, like many little businesses, every client. And I loved having really difficult clients. Like,
I can see
like
you'd be really good at it.
You come in, you got, you're
somebody like me.
Just like wearing a hat and shades and just like, we got a sports coat on and shit and all pompous and arrogant and, all the.
I'm just not sure I like the direction.
No. But I would sit down, I make sure I came to your table, greeted you, got you your bread, let you start eating. What do you want for apps? Get your drinks fast, make sure they're good, filled up. And dude, if you got, I love it when you get like almost halfway and I'd be like there, pop, with a freaking pitcher of tea. Just fill that puppy up.
No wonder you were so good at that.
Dude, I loved it, man. And the second that you were done eating your freaking lasagna, I was like always creeping around the corner. I'm like, that son was about to eat his last freaking ravioli. And as soon as you put it in your mouth, I was like, bop, bop, grabbed your plates, got it cleaned up. Man, I had it all clean.
What kind of dessert do you want tonight?
Yeah. Would you like the chocolate lasagna? I'll recommend the chocolate. That's my favorite. I eat like 5 of them a day.
The cannolis are really good here.
Cannolis are great too. Yeah, it's really great. Would you like some coffee? You need sugar or cream? And just keep it clean and have a great experience. And I get a better tip. Right. And they come back.
Right.
And ask for me.
No, it's so true, though. That's just the perfect little sort of micro business transaction.
Yeah. That we can all relate to.
That we can all relate to, that a business goes through. It may take 2 years to go through that in a certain business to business or business to consumer purchase decision, right? Mm-hmm. But those things are all happening in one way or shape or a form.
And the example about fueling growth is that I could actually turn more tables than a lot of my counterparts.
Right.
Like I could open up a table sooner because I got them all their stuff super fast.
Because you're scheduling this all. Yeah. You're not just,
Yeah, and then by the end of the shift, I might have had 4 or 5 more tables, 4 or 5 times $5-10 a pop. That's $50 more bucks.
Right.
Howie made in the shift than you did, bro.
7 days a week, that'd be $350.
Come on.
Yeah. And you do that for a third weeks in a month, and you just made like $1,600 more than the other guy did.
Sorry, man. Sorry you got beat.
Yeah.
But the big thing about it's about customer satisfaction. The desire to make people happy with their investment is so critical to fueling your growth.
And I mean, I don't see how anybody could disagree with that. So customer service as a marketing strategy is part of that. It's not all of it, because there's the steps before they're actually a customer, right? But undoubtedly, customer service is a marketing strategy. I always poke fun at, word of mouth is how we market, because usually when most small business owners tell us that means they don't do anything.
Right.
Okay. They just, word of mouth's the best work. First, they got to go in there so you can get the word of mouth. But the customer service that you provide is where that really comes from.
That's where the word of mouth triggers.
Right. And that's a growth. That's definitely one way to fuel your growth. What else do you think is important to fueling your growth?
Yeah. So I think that, on the whole customer journey, to me, just has like 100 different steps, right? Because after you satisfy the project, you did a survey, got feedback. Well, then it's about asking referrals. It's about intentionally trying to get referrals. It's about triggering them to, because a lot of times customers are busy with their own stuff, and they will be passively recommending. So if you said, hey, Eric, what was your experience of podcast videos? Well, I had a good one. I'd definitely refer you going. That's a passive reactive, but what you really would like to have is a more proactive, active referral.
That's why everybody now says, well, here's our link to our Google reviews. Or,
totally.
If you get a minute, put that in, right?
I'm a huge advocate with that.
Right. Like you're directing them to the site where they can leave a review for you.
When somebody leaves us a review, whether it's positive or negative, I mean, like the team knows, like instantaneous response, appreciation, gratitude. Hey, we're going to take care of this. I mean, that's where you can demonstrate. What's beautiful about that is that it's all the same stuff, but now it's just exposed to the public.
I agree. And it gives you a chance to demonstrate how responsive you are to a problem. I totally, and so many companies just ignore those things.
Just ignore it.
They don't do anything with it.
Yeah.
Like, why?
Yeah.
I don't understand it.
Yeah.
Is it because the owners aren't that engaged? They don't.
Well, we lose focus of the fundamentals of a business, right? Which is just get great customer experience, so because word of mouth is the greatest. Like I've built many businesses on word of mouth, right? Yeah. I mean, but to get word of mouth, it isn't an advertising program, right? It requires great experiences. It requires happy customers.
Yep.
But the technology is basically the whole reviews, the social reviews, whatever it might be.
Right.
Is just an accelerant of that. And so you need to take full advantage of it. So they forget that the core of their business is people saying good things about your business.
It's so true, isn't it?
It really is. I mean, like you take stuff for even like Uber, TikTok, any of the big tech firms. Like it's not because they did a great advertising plan. It's because they found out a niche that everybody's really wanting, basic fundamentals. They deploy it out there, make it super user-friendly, easy to engage, simple sign-up, all that's customer journey, easy to transact with, no thinking, impulse buying.
And then they ask for a review immediately afterward, right?
Yeah, but then it's like I heard about Uber, not from some sort of like advertisement on Facebook or Google or whatever. I heard it from a friend that, man, you need to try Uber. That is word of mouth.
Exactly. No, I hear what you're saying.
You know what I'm saying?
Yes, I totally get that. And this whole idea of making it easy to do business with the business is one that so many businesses don't seem to understand.
Yeah.
Why is that?
I don't know.
I mean, do they ever just like try to do business with their own business to experiment as an experiment and see what happens?
Well, so
I mean,
I got a perfect point for that. Mm-hmm. A great example. This podcast show is an exact statement of what you're talking about.
We're using your business to do our podcast. We are a customer.
And that was number one thing on my radar when we first started this. I'm like, I have to be a podcast, a show host.
Amen to that.
In order to understand what the hell this company is actually providing value for me.
Oh, I know.
And if I can't feel it and see it, I'm out of the game, man.
I don't know if I ever told you this, but I do think it's relevant to our discussion. I had these clients who were architects based in Boston years ago, and all they did was malls, okay? And they did tenant build-outs in malls.
Okay.
So they designed new malls, but they also did the tenant build-outs for, whatever it is. Abercrombie and Fitch is going to put a store in there. They go in, they got to make it look the way Abercrombie and Fitch wants it. So what they did, which I thought was really interesting, they had a whole group of people who only did tenant build-outs. They didn't do the construction. They just planned it. All right. Okay. They decided they would open a candy store in one of the malls that they designed and go through the tenant build-out process and then operate the candy store and have all their people take turns working in the candy store to see what it was like to do business in that mall.
It's great.
Don't you think that's great?
I do.
I thought that was so progressive. And this is like 30 years ago.
It's great.
That was their plan.
I just saw something online about Home Depot is now requiring everyone on their corporate team to work in a store once a quarter as a shift in a store.
My only thing with that is I think they should make them work for like 2 weeks in one store. So they would have a chance to actually get good at, and be useful. But I think it's a brilliant idea. I love it.
Good move, man.
Well, my friend here, his name's Steve Cox, or not Steve Cox. Anyway,
you don't remember?
Anyway, he worked as the top accounting person for Home Depot.
Oh yeah,
and he would go into the stores and work early on in his experience there. What?
We might have to edit that.
Let's start all over again. Get rid of that. So, as you know, Steve Cox is. He's from Jonesboro.
That's not him. Play football, right?
Yeah, I know Steve. He's on the board of trustees. But let's kill all that. Let's go back. So, as an illustration, though, of what you're talking about there with the Home Depot plan. Steve Gibbs, who is the senior vice president in charge of accounting for Home Depot, when he went to work there from Tyson, where he was the controller, senior VP, or whatever he was, controller at Tyson, he went out and worked in the stores to experience it himself. I wonder if they got that idea from Steve in the first place.
Could have.
But it is great to get that exposure. See what your customers are really going through.
Well, what you're talking about is as the entrepreneur or the leader is understanding the customer journey, working at the Home Depot or working at that mall. Like as the customer, you're experiencing what you're providing service. One of the, I think really that somebody that everybody can definitely relate to that has proven how important the customer journey is for the growth is Sam Walton himself. Right? Yeah. I mean, he would go to store visits all the time. I mean,
that was a big part of what he did. I mean, he'd go store to store. He'd go into the sock department and talk with the woman that was running that.
But I mean, like the guy's growing the fastest growing company and the biggest organization, but he's still going to the stores because he doesn't want to lose sight of what his customer is experiencing at every store.
Yes.
There's so many other things. Like the problem is we get distracted from all these little ancillary things that other people tell us that's really important for our business, and they're usually the people lending or investing money or auditing or thinking about buying us or whatever it is,
or some kind of parasitic group that's got some process they want you to implement that's going to be the panacea
software or consulting company or advisory, or coach. Something like that. But you as an entrepreneur, you got to stay relentlessly focused on that customer experience.
Yeah. I think that's a big part of the fueling the growth. I do think, though, that there are some other things that are worth talking about. One of them is just a strategy of spending more money on marketing than your competitors.
Yeah.
I always say, like, whatever the industry is that you're in, let's say you're in the hamburger business or whatever, and the average hamburger restaurant spends 5% of revenue on marketing. What if you spend 10% of your revenue on marketing? What do you think is going to happen?
Are you going to leads?
Yeah, you're going to sell more burgers. Are you growing at the same rate then as the other people? Mm-hmm. No, you want to fuel growth. You got to put some gas on the fire.
Right.
That's
right, man.
But small business owners don't believe in it. So many, they when it comes right down to spending money on marketing, they see it as overhead, and overhead should be minimized.
Yeah.
What is that about?
Man, I think that there's one reason why I think I've seen business owners not do more marketing. Mm-hmm. And I've consulted on marketing for many years, but
I know
and I've done a lot of it myself. But like, I think the sticking point is they think in their mind that I've got to get a 7-to-1 return on my investment for my marketing, or what's that ratio? How am I going to really afford that? And there's no solid answer to that. Like, the only thing, the way you get 7-to-1 return on your investment is probably after you've spent about a 1-to-1 or a 0-to-1 return on your investment about 20 times over till you find the avenue.
I know, and that's so true.
Driving that.
And then the other thing is that 7-to-1, maybe that 7-to-1 is really a lot better than that because they become a lifetime customer.
That's it.
You can't just look at so you spend way more than that to get them in the first place, and then you spend less than that after you get them.
That's right.
You got to understand the lifetime value of the customer.
Yeah, and it's
really true.
It's that fear of, if I spend this $5, am I going to get the $35 in return on that one effort?
It's
and
not
what's
that
the right way to
linear.
go? You can't.
I know, but everybody wants that.
I know they do. In my marketing plan right now for my business, is in my teams, like, we started on this marketing plan. I was like, just start here. Mm-hmm. Like, my thing was just start. Here's the money.
Right.
Let's go do this.
If it doesn't work, then we do something else.
That's right.
With the money.
But by the way,
doesn't mean we just stop spending money and then don't do anything.
That's exactly it. Like, I was like, and it also doesn't mean I did it 1 month and then I'm going to cancel that as a bad avenue. No. You got to, you just got to stick with it.
So true.
Give yourself 90 days. Do some analysis. Or did you communicate right? There's so much.
Yeah,
that's why a lot of people hate marketing, because there's not a finite reasoning as to why something did or did not work.
I know, and
and
it doesn't always. Even if it works for a while, it may not work forever.
No, it won't. But the thing is, you've got to invest in it. It's an investment. Marketing is 100% of an investment.
Off balance sheet investment's what I always call it.
Yeah,
it shows up as an expense on your P&L. There's nowhere for it to be on the balance sheet.
Like, so you don't have any asset to it.
But it's real, though.
It is totally real.
What's it worth to have a system that allows you to spend more money and get more business instantly?
Yeah.
What's that worth to you? To not to have to sell hard, to be able to have anybody be able to sell because their demand is so high from the marketing that you've done, that the selling becomes easy. Then you just write orders.
That's it.
It was, to me, that was like the difference in Toyota versus GM or something. Yeah. 20 years ago. I mean, there's like a line waiting to get your Toyotas.
Yeah.
And they can't sell Chevy Cobalts or whatever. Right?
Another thing I would say on marketing too is, like, you got to look at them as campaigns, but then there's this overarching value that you're getting that doesn't matter if this campaign worked or didn't work. Say it came back as 0 leads.
Right.
And I spent $2,000 on that campaign. Mm-hmm. Most people get so discouraged by that. And I'm always like, hold on, team. I can promise you that I got $2,000 worth of brand exposure out of that.
Yes.
There is no damn such thing on this planet as a bad marketing.
I know.
A marketing execution. None. You can't have a bad one.
You don't know. Someday, 5 years from now, somebody could get something or have a need and go, I remember I got something from these people that seemed like that was their business. Maybe I should look them up.
Yeah.
It's so true.
Yeah. And you can't be a small business entrepreneur, which is what our listeners are doing.
Yeah.
And think like Procter & Gamble with Pamper Swaddler's diapers marketing campaign.
Yeah.
And even if you worked at P&G for 50 years running that freaking category.
Right.
To jump in and expect that you can deploy a marketing plan for a new business venture with a 7-to-1 return and 18, you know what I'm saying?
I know.
You can't expect that. It took P&G and all these brands years worth of investment in marketing to go, oh, I think freestanding inserts and Sunday papers is going to work really well, or Dillard's back page ad of the newspapers, like that works for them, right? But that doesn't mean it's going to work for your business.
No.
And it's, certainly not something that they did one time, long time ago, and just worked, and that's all they do.
Right.
They had to invest in
experiment, constant experimentation. So to fuel growth, you gotta spend money in marketing. You got to constantly do experimentation.
Yep.
You got to know your customer journey, every aspect of it, and how you can make that easier.
So
shorten the cycle,
scale, so you can handle more with more scale.
Right. Process design to allow you to serve more customers without adding more people.
That's it.
And other overhead. So what else do you think is important to fueling growth?
Well, I mean, I think that, like making the right choices of your team, like the people that you have on your team, which is the makeup of your business.
Right.
In essence, I mean, I met with one of my former business partner, J.S. Bull, the other day. I was just having coffee with him. I was just we're talking about business, and and I was talking about hiring some folks, and he kind of stopped me for a second. He's like, man, he goes, don't forget, really your next investment in your people, make sure it's something that's tied to some sort of revenue generation. Because I'm glad he stopped me.
I've said that to people before.
Which, by the way, a side note to this, another point is that I've been doing business a long time for myself. But man, I'm actually more now talking with folks like you in my network about getting advice. I'm not talking about sit down presentation. I'm talking about just little trickles in conversation that I have to have that, because it's so muddied up. It's so subjective when you're in your business. You're in the weeds of it.
Yep.
But his statement there caused me to go, damn, you're right, dude. I'm glad you said.
Overhead people, revenue generators.
Yeah, I know I need to have people execute, but I can get away a little bit and put more pressure in that cook.
Yes.
But I really need somebody that can. Yes, I need somebody that's working to drive more either leads or close more deals. I mean, I got to have, and that's it. He was totally right.
Yep. Yep, I agree with that.
So choosing the right bucket or department of people, I think, is important, and then. Who do you choose? I think that, and I was actually explaining to him just yesterday too. I was like, something, JS, that hit me is, with a startup, it's just different than a growing second stage, like we talked about with Tom too, a second stage or third stage growth company to a major conglomerate, a corporate entity. The hiring process and who you hire at what time for what reasons is different in every one of those stages.
Oh, absolutely.
In the startup, I want to have a group of non-tenured people that are just digging into what we do and learning how to do it. Because, and I was telling JS, is I didn't really think about the strategy, but I started considering, what the hell am I doing with my strategy, of which I'm just doing things, right? Because I'm taking action instead of strategy planning all the time. I'm just hiring some folks based on my gut, right? But what I figured out is that I'm getting people on the team that can do these things. I'm not ready for like tenured leaders right now.
Right. You can't have that kind of specialized roles. You need people who are very flexible, that have a good work ethic and a good attitude, that are willing to do whatever needs to be done at the time.
Exactly. And then they dig into this.
Yeah.
And then they figure out what this task needs to be done to be done well according to our evolving industry.
Right.
And then as we grow, then I can bring in tenured leaders that they don't have to know anything about what we do, but they know how to lead people, how to get people focused, how to prioritize, from a business executive type thinking, that can coach and guide them and lead them, or they get lifted up in that process as they grow and mature in business.
Yeah, the business evolves and the roles become different.
Yeah,
and usually they're narrower, more narrowly defined.
Yeah,
you need more expertise in the area, but you need it in less areas for the individual.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah. I understand what you're saying. So, yeah, getting the right people
at the right
time is really critical to your growth.
Mm-hmm.
We haven't even talked about things like just, the right people. So much of it is an attitudinal thing versus a skill set. It seems to me, and you can't afford anybody who's real negative and skeptical at that level, because they're just going to be a drag on everybody.
One bad apple spoils one bunch, but if you got a bag of 50 apples and one bad one, it's going to spoil it. But if you got a bag of 5 apples and there's one in there, it's going to spoil it a hell of a lot faster.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
sometimes you can take a bag of 50 apples with one bad one, and somehow they make the bad one good because there's so many good ones.
That's true. I've seen that.
I don't know if that works with apples, but it does work with people.
I've seen it, but that's more rare.
It is more rare. I won't argue with you there. It is rarer. Anything else that jumps out at you there?
Yeah, I think that there's one last point is just community involvement, especially for a small business.
Mm-hmm.
And fueling your growth. Like,
I hear a lot of business owners tell us that.
Yeah, I mean, the reality is like it's the chamber. Like, look, if you're a small business, you're starting up, you got to join the chambers. Why do you join the chambers? Not so that you can get on their website and then all of a sudden get leads. That's not how anything ever works on planet Earth. You join it and then you work it. You participate. You contribute. You invest in the chamber. Right. You invest in the community, and then it reinvests back into you. It's a natural thing. People do business with people they trust, like, know, and they enjoy working with.
Yeah, the community doesn't have to be local. It could be like the trade group that you're of the client type that your business serves.
Like national HR convention. Like, if that's your audience,
then if you're selling to HR people, then you want to get involved with them.
Yeah,
and be known to them and be helpful to them.
Yes, it doesn't mean like sponsoring the next trade show and you have a booth there and all of a sudden you get all this business. No, it's about getting on a committee. It's about serving.
Right, exactly.
Render the service first.
Oh, I'm telling you. Well, it's the same thing with employees. Perform first, show me what you got, then you get the money.
Then you get
Instead
paid.
of get me the money and then I will.
Mm-mm.
That has never worked.
It's never worked. Never, ever will.
Yeah.
It won't. It won't ever work.
So that's some good stuff. Okay. We're running out of time here.
Yeah.
We got to get to the what do we call it? The LinkedIn Hall of Shame. We may want to rename that at some point, because sometimes, I don't know if it's necessarily a hall of shame, but it's the hall of idiotic questions. See, people say there's no such thing as a stupid question.
No, there it is.
There really are. Yeah, there's only stupid people. I don't know if you've ever heard that.
Yeah.
I always tell my students, I want to hear every question they have, seriously, because I always say, if you have that question, odds are there's other people in here that have the same question.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Please ask it. There's no question that's a problem. But in LinkedIn, maybe it's a little different. Okay? Yeah. So listen to this one. I thought this is really kind of funny. Your team member is struggling to give feedback. How can you empower them to lead effectively?
I mean, my first response to that is, I don't know if they are leading if they're struggling to give feedback.
My usual favorite answerer to these idiotic questions, this Greg Long here.
Yeah.
He's like the most unsympathetic.
Do you know Greg Long?
No, I don't know him.
He's just somebody that you've seen commenting on LinkedIn and you love him.
Yes.
So like,
he's hysterical.
You have no contact with him. Like, he might listen to our show and be like, dude, you're talking about me.
I did send him a message on LinkedIn.
Oh, you did?
That we're big fans of some of your comments, which he laughed at. Anyway, Greg Long's response to this is,
it's great.
You can't. They either have it or they don't.
So true.
It's true. Exactly what you were just saying.
Yeah.
I mean, anyway.
Like a good,
empower the leader to give feedback?
Like, no, a leader is self-empowered to know that they should give feedback, or else the company, or he or she's not leading anything.
Yeah.
If you're not giving good feedback.
Right.
Like that's sabotage, man.
I know. Anyway, it's just the latest in a long series of idiotic questions that we see.
I think the point to you bringing up the LinkedIn Hall of Shame or LinkedIn of idiotic questions is entrepreneurs beware. Beware of the fallacy and of there's this simple way to do business. There's an easy way to do business.
Yeah. Or there's a one right way to do business. Or
there's a right way. Right? And we're here to bust that crap up because there's so many, like the only people that I know that have gotten like rich quick are the ones that are writing books and doing and selling programs about how to get rich quick.
Yeah, no kidding.
You know?
I think that the reason though why what you said is so true about, there's not always a simple answer because it's situationally dependent. There's so many different variables at work out there.
Yeah.
That you can't give a stock answer necessarily to a lot of this stuff.
No.
Don't you think?
Totally.
Because you don't know everything about the company, the cast of characters, their history, how they got where they are.
Well, I mean,
all those things.
It's like if I came to you and said, hey, Mark, I got problems in my business is not doing well. It's not like you're going to sit down with me for 30 minutes and explain to me how to do my business well.
Right.
You're going to have to listen to me for hours.
You'd want to do some investigation, thorough investigation to figure that out.
Right. And like if you're going to participate with it, that's why, you probably want a slice of the pie. You want to get paid. And,
right.
That's how that stuff works, right?
Yeah, I'd be like asking all your employees, what is it about Eric? Does he show up? Is he here? Is he?
Don't ask him that.
Ready to level up your show? At podcastvideos.com, we offer industry-leading recording and expert marketing to help your show reach more listeners. From creation to distribution, we've got you covered. Visit podcastvideos.com and elevate your podcast today.
As I was coming back from the airport yesterday and I see you out there in your property playing around with your wild equipment that you have.
Yeah.
I mean, he's the only guy I know with a Mini X with an air-conditioned cabin on it.
I'm not the only I'm the only one you may know.
Yeah, most of the guys I know, they got these like old crappy ones, and they break down every time. It's like, damn, my toe's busted on that thing. I got to take it out to Siloam. There's a guy out there that'll fix it, but it's going to take 2 days to get the hose. Mm-hmm. And there's Eric in his air-conditioned Bluetooth stereo Mini X.
Like, here's the reality is there's a decision to make when you're buying a piece of equipment like that. Do you want it to be enclosed cab? It's going to cost an extra $5,000, but it's not about the AC or the heat. It's also about being outside, protected from the dust.
Right. You get fatigue. You can work longer.
Yeah. You can just sit. I could sit in there for 8 hours.
Right.
And
I understand. I'm just giving you.
No, I know. But it's a good investment, I think.
Yeah.
And plus with Kubota's 0% financing, bro.
All right.
I mean, come on.
Yeah. Kubota's, they rock.
They do.
Have you ever looked at some of these Indian companies like Mahindra?
I haven't.
Have you seen them? They make very affordable equipment. But anyway, we won't get into that unless Mahindra wants to be a sponsor.
I mean, just saying,
show or Kubota.
Kubota, we just plugged you for 0% financing.
No kidding. Kubota, if you're listening, look us up.
That's right.
Right now at www.bigtalkaboutsmallbusiness.com. And there's a place you could contact us, and we'd be glad to sing the praises of Kubota equipment. We've got a big fan right here.
That's it. And I hope that our listeners bring us more questions.
Yeah.
I mean, that's always exciting when we get them in. We address a lot of them on the show.
We'll throw them in the hat. We'll either give them we'll either give you attribution or not. It's your choice.
Yeah.
As the questioner.
Yeah. But we want to hear from you, and you can tell that Mark and I aren't mean people. We love to have your questions. We'll be nice.
Yeah, we will be.
Yeah.
We'll behave. All right. So I think it's time we wrap this show up.
Yes, sir.
We're running out of time. Yep.
Got some good guests coming in soon. Next couple episodes.
We do have, yes.
And more coming.
I'm excited about that.
Yep. And I think it's time we bring in some of the, I was thinking the other day, like we should dig back into the archives, bring in some of the folks, where are they at now kind of thing. That'd be kind of fun.
I like that.
Yeah. Like who was the lady that, I forget her name, that does Confident Coffee?
Oh, you're talking about Amber Duke?
Amber, yeah. She was a good guest.
Great.
Yeah. So I think it'd be cool now because I've seen her. She's had more shops open now.
Yeah, she's got one in Rogers now.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
I think we need to listen though to what Tom Borden said.
Yeah,
we should only have guests on here who are potential sponsors of the show.
That's right. And that way we make. This is our show, and like you can only get on if you're kind of almost paying for it.
Yeah, we stroke their egos, right? You tell them how great they are.
Tom, you're great. Slim Chickens is great. Love an ad. Just love an ad.
We do love it. All right. Well, thanks again, everybody. And until next week, this has been another episode of Big Talk About Small Business.
Thanks for tuning into this episode of Big Talk About Small Business. If you have any questions or ideas for upcoming shows, be sure to head over to our website, www.bigtalkaboutsmallbusiness.com, and click on the Ask the Host button for the chance to have your questions answered on the show. Stay connected with us on LinkedIn at Big Talk About Small Business. And be sure to head over to our website to read articles, browse episodes, and ask questions about upcoming shows.